It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Athletes Unlimited professional women's basketball player, Akela Maize. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and my name is Akela Maize.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to play professional basketball?
I did not know that I wanted to play professional basketball. I actually started playing when I was in the 8th grade in middle school, just as a social event. So for me to get through to be a professional basketball player was not even a dream I had when I was younger. So it's just something that kind of just worked its way, and I kept trying to build up and go through all those different levels to see how far I could go.
What was it like, obviously, going to NC State and playing for the women's basketball team?
Oh, it was amazing. Like I said, I never thought that, that would be an opportunity that I would have. When I first did commit to NC State, it felt like home. It was in North Carolina, where I'm from. So just being there and knowing K-Yow and, the history she had there, it was an honor.
What was that like, obviously, playing on K-Yow's court?
Yeah, so, before every game, even during practices, Coach Moore made sure that he implemented K-Yow's, kind of like her, you work hard when you step into this court. When you put on this jersey, you work hard. He made sure that we knew that that's something that this school stood for. So he was like, she fought for her, her life during, the time that she was alive. And so we need to fight whenever we step on her court.
What were some of your accomplishments at NC State?
For most of NC State, I had some injuries, so I didn't play much. But my senior year, I was on the all defensive team. And my junior and senior year, I was on the all academic ACC team.
Of course, as you said that you had injuries throughout your college career, how did that impact you? And how on your senior year did that come out to be a positive thing?
Yeah, so my freshman year, before even our opening game, I had tore all the ligaments and in my ankle. So I literally wasn't even able to stand on it. So that was very, detrimental for a freshman that is already nervous to come into a new D1 school. And I wanted to, showcase what I had and what I could do. And, that I wasn't able to do that. And so that kind of put my confidence down. And then, junior year, I broke my hand. So I was out for a while with that. So, my senior year, for me to be able to, accomplish what I accomplished, it was great. Looking back, I'm glad that I went through what I went through because the adversity made me stronger.
What was it like getting to put on that NC State red jersey?
Like I said before, it's a feeling like no other. Red is definitely one of my favorite colors now. Just knowing, like I said, the history and what's behind wearing those red and white, uniforms was amazing.
What was it like, obviously, getting to play in the ACC, getting to play teams like Carolina, Duke, and Clemson?
Yeah, so I remember actually towards the end of my freshman year, I was able to kind of step onto the court, and I remember going to the UNC game at a away game, and I remember just looking at all the lights, and I'm like, wow, this is like the games that I used to watch on TV, when I was younger, and I'm actually going to be playing in it. So it was so cool to just have that experience. And I feel like the ACC is one of the better conferences just because we have finesse players. Every team, you never know what night is going to be that team's night. So, yeah.
Of course, playing in the ACC, what was that like, obviously, being at the top of the conference each year and obviously being at the best conference?
Yeah, so, I mean, my first 2 years, we weren't necessarily at the top of the ACC conference. We were, kind of rebuilding the program. But those last 2 years for us to, make it to the NCAA tournament after, beating like some of the top teams in the ACC, like Notre Dame and Louisville, those were really big moments. And it was, really, really cool to actually see how far our team have come and things like that.
Coming out of NC State, what was it like getting into international professional basketball?
Yeah, I do apologize. You were lagging a bit. But I feel like going from college into international was a very big culture shock. You're used to fans, you're used to having, the same language, you're used to having your family, coming to the games, and then you go overseas and, you don't have any of that and you have to kind of adapt. So that transition was pretty difficult for me.
How is it like getting to travel the world and go to first play in Spain?
Yeah, so it was an amazing experience just to see another part of the world that you don't really get to see on a daily basis, and to be there for over 8 months, was pretty cool as well because you're really immersed. It's not just like a vacation where you just see a few sites. You're actually getting to know people, getting to know the culture. So yeah, going to Spain as my first go around was great because the league was great. The people were fun. So yeah, that was, I think, one of the better places to go when you're first starting out as a rookie overseas.
What was it like, obviously, traveling all the way to Greece to play basketball?
Yeah, so Greece is one of my favorite places that I have played in. Of course, it's one of those popular tourist sites and things like that. So I had so much to do. It was a great experience, not just on the basketball court, but also just to, like I said, to know the culture. I love the food. I will always be a Mediterranean foodie now because of playing in Greece. But yeah, it was definitely far away from home, just like Spain was. But it was, after the first year of being in Spain, you kind of get used to it, and each year gets a little easier.
What was that like, obviously, going from Greece to France?
Yeah, well, actually, after Greece, I went to Bulgaria and then I went to France. But yeah, it was different. It was a different language. The culture is very different in all of the different countries that you've mentioned. So just like I said, adapting to each culture and each team's needs of you was it was a challenge, but it was one that I was up for.
Of course, with traveling to all those countries, what was it like, obviously, being from America and having to play in a different country with people that obviously played in different styles?
Yeah, the style is very different. Even the attitude of certain players are different. We have a lot of energy in the U.S., and I remember one of my coaches in France talking about that, how we need to bring that energy overseas because a lot of players, they're just sometimes they're out there maybe for a hobby, just because they're from that country and things like that. So being the American, they do expect you to come over here locked and loaded pretty much, to be like a top scorer, a top rebounder, top everything. So it was a little difficult for me because I'm used to being like a role player. So to go overseas and then become like a dominant player was definitely something that was new to me.
What was it like, obviously, when you came back over from playing overseas, going through training camp in the WNBA?
Yeah, so that year in particular, I was on the edge of going if I should go back overseas or not. I had left early, and it was just kind of like, I don't really know what's next. So when I got that call that there was an opening to go to the Phoenix Mercury training camp, I was super ecstatic because it was my first time playing professionally in this. So I kind of wanted to see what that was like because I didn't have those barriers of food or culture or language. It was just all the same. It was just playing basketball at this point, as if I was in college. So I enjoyed my experience thoroughly. Yeah, it was kind of short-lived. I didn't get to make it to the full season, but being in training camp and being able to play with players like Skylar Diggins, Diana Taurasi, Kia Nurse, and Brittany Griner, those were experiences that I'll never take for granted.
What was that like? Obviously, as you said, it was short-lived, but you got to put on that jersey. What was that feeling like of getting to put on that WNBA jersey?
Wow, I remember it. Oh my gosh. I still actually have my jersey. But it was an experience like this is really it. I remember warming up in the first game and I was like, wow, like I'm running out of the tunnel and Brittany Griner's behind me. Like I'm making jokes with her, like, oh, I think I'm taller, like maybe I should get behind you, knowing that I wasn't. But just seeing her like warm up and dunk, in the warm-ups, and then like Diane Taurasi is shooting like threes from like the logo to warm up. Like it was just amazing. It was like, wow, I'm actually like on the team, in this instant. I'm not a prospect or like somebody, a spectator that's looking in from the outside. Like I'm actually like doing this. So it was an experience that I hope that I can maybe in the future, experience again. Maybe not, but we'll see.
Of course, what are some of the things that you learned from that time to help you with your time at Athletes Unlimited?
Yeah, so I remember it was one practice that was kind of one of those practices where it's like your body's tired, you may or may not want to, be there that day. All athletes have that. And Diana pulled me aside and she was like, you always bring that energy. So, make sure every time you step on the court, like you bring that energy, like that's your niche. And so I, used that and what she said, and I used that in Athletes Unlimited. And, every day I would try to bring energy, whether it was through dancing, whether it's through laughter, or, just me running up and down the court and grabbing rebounds. Like that was what I brought to Athletes Unlimited.
Of course, coming to Athletes Unlimited, what was that like coming to Athletes Unlimited from obviously your time overseas and your short time in training camp?
Yeah, well, I'm actually glad that I was able to have, kind of like that experience and that history of being overseas for 4 years and, being in WNBA training camp, like allowed me to be a lot more comfortable with like the new environment and the new system and, being around other players that were, like Courtney Williams and, Izzy Harrison, like those were players that I looked up to, when I was growing up kind of. So it was pretty cool to like be on a team with them, and I wasn't as nervous as I think I would have been if I did Athletes Unlimited straight out of college or something like that. So it was.
What was what was that feeling like of getting to put on the Athletes Unlimited multiple jerseys?
Yeah, so the multiple colors and being able, just even, when we had the draft days on Sunday, just hearing my name being chosen, to play on a team with, certain players, like it was amazing. And I knew that each time I stepped on the court, like I was making history because we were the first 44 to begin Athletes Unlimited. And I do think it's going to be something that continues in the future. So yeah, it was pretty good, pretty great.
What was that typical game day look like for you during your time with Athletes Unlimited?
Yeah, so a typical game day, starts with maybe a shoot around. Sometimes we would just walk through plays to make sure everyone knew it because we only had like 2 days to kind of get acclimated as a team. So we would start off with that, and then they would provide us with food. Sometimes it was pasta or chicken or something like that. So I would eat that. And then I love to take naps before games. So I would take a nap and then, I would get up in time to get ready and things like that. And then like game day would be swift. We would either watch one team play or we would play first. Then, you get treatment. So, it's just a typical game day of like every athlete. It was nothing really special, but yeah, game days were awesome because they were 3 times a week. So it was pretty fun.
How's it like obviously getting to play with WNBA players while playing during your time at Athletes Unlimited?
It was great. Like I said, anytime you can pick from, WNBA players, minds, that's a great thing. I would, have conversations with each individual like person, like not even just WNBA players, but, people that played overseas for long periods of time. Like I was able to learn things from them as well. So it was great. Yeah.
What are some of your game day routines and rituals that you do?
Like I said, I take naps. I also like to listen to music before games. I kind of turn it off when we're warming up just so I can, focus and hear what next maybe movement we're going to do, whatever as a team. But yeah, those are just the two that I have always done, just listen to music and take naps.
Who are some of the people that you look up to in the women's basketball community?
Wow. I definitely look up to Candace Parker. She's done a lot for the community, and she's always, kept her composure as like a player, even though maybe media has thrown certain things at her. So I definitely look up to her a lot. And I also look up to Asia Wilson, for her to be such a young player and have such a big role on the Las Vegas Aces, like I give her props because, it takes a lot to bear that weight.
Who are some players that on Athletes Unlimited that you look up to?
I definitely look up to Courtney Williams. She's one of those players where it doesn't matter who you are, she's still going to treat you like, a human being or as if you're on the same level as she is. She used to always say, like, I'm going to make you better, so it doesn't matter if maybe you're, like I said, not on the same level as her, like WNBA wise or skill wise, she's still going to, try to get you the ball or try to get you in the best situations and encourage you and things like that. So I definitely looked up to her in that aspect.
What advice would you give future college basketball players looking to play college basketball?
I would just tell them, don't get discouraged. Like, adversity is going to happen. Like I said, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have moments where maybe coach, doesn't utilize you or doesn't know how to use your skill, but, don't give up hope. Continue to stay in the gym. Continue to have that confidence because, you can have little skill, but if you have the confidence, you can go anywhere you want to go. But if you have skill, but you don't have the confidence, that's going to hold you back a lot.
What advice would you give college basketball players looking to make it to the WNBA or Athletes Unlimited or even overseas?
I would definitely tell them that everybody's path is different. You may go to Athletes Unlimited, then go overseas, then, eventually maybe 4 years later make it to the WNBA, kind of like I did. And I would tell them, like, just because you didn't get drafted coming out of college, that doesn't matter. You see from this year, like the draftees, some of them didn't even make a WNBA team. So, don't get so caught up in that. Get caught up in getting better each and every time that you step on the floor.
What advice would you give people from Athletes Unlimited looking to go to the WNBA?
I would tell them to use this experience to, like I said, better themselves. The Athletes Unlimited has such a great platform that college coaches are able to place, some of their graduate players in there, like connection-wise. And, I think that using Athletes Unlimited to get to the WNBA is great because I know a lot of games we would have WNBA coaches stop by just to view players that were in the WNBA already or to look at new prospects. So, like I said, every time you step on the court, like, think of it as that opportunity of you being at a training camp or, you showcasing what you can do.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Akela, Akela, with a little period in between, and then Maize, Maize.
Thank you again, Akela Maize, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with Athletes Unlimited.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Akela Maize, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.